pleasant good morning, one and all. Well, I shouldn't only say good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I'm conscious of the fact that people are all over the globe are watching. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the third day of May in the year 2023. Welcome to one and all. It's so good to be here again. After missing last week, I'll explain to you in a short while why there was no program last week. Because I saw people asking the question if there was a program and if they actually missed it. No, there was no program last week. And I'll tell you why a little later. But for now, as we're all here, I must say that we have a record number of students in the class prior to the commencement of class. We schedule a program in the mornings on YouTube, and therefore those persons who join on YouTube can go immediately and sign in. And this morning, very, very early, students were there. They signed in. And when I went live in a short while ago, we had in excess of 70 persons in class just waiting. And of course, since then, the Facebookers have joined in their numbers. So welcome. And as the scroll says at the bottom of the program, they share the live, let people know that we are on. So share the live. I have some very notable persons on here this morning. And in a short while, we will do the roll call. Because I can't miss the roll call. Even though the roll call is going to be a little longer this morning, we're not going to give up on the roll call. So that is a must. Once you have class, you have to be able to call the roll to know those who are present. And by then, we're going to know those who come in a little late and so on. It tickled me this morning to see that someone signed in 8 something, and they said, look, they're late and they hope that they have seat. They could get a squeeze in, so to speak. So yeah, people are looking forward, and we are here and we are ready. I know my colleague is in the studio. He had some technical difficulties a while ago. I hope those difficulties are resolved by the time he's ready to come into the program properly. So welcome. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Many persons have not been this fortunate to see this day. We have so many persons who would have passed. Some very notable and prominent persons I'll tell you about in a short while. So share the live. Welcome one and all. Welcome. Let me tell you right away that the reason for no program last week, I did tell you the week before that we had court. We had to attend court on the 26th. And that is when I said court in respect of the trumped-up charge of conspiracy to commit fraud against myself, Mr. Conway, some other retired police officers, and some serving police officers. Last week was a case. And I also had a case with the trumped-up charge again of sexual assault. So those cases were set for last Wednesday. And they are all postponed again until the 9th of June, 2023. So we turned up, those of us virtually and some in person, to be advised that the matters are now set for the 9th of June. So what you're going to have a situation now, or we into a situation where 2 years will pass since the charges were instituted, because the charges were instituted on the 19th of May, 2021. So 2 years are going to go by, and we haven't even gotten to the stage yet where the trial has commenced. Imagine that. 2 years and nothing basically put off. Statements have been filed now, and we're waiting for the date, case management, ruling on submissions, and it's going on. And we are there because we know at the end of the day we'll be vindicated, and therefore we are putting our trust in the hands of the Lord, and I know that we are right, and therefore we have nothing to fear. We are not the ones who will run to have charges discontinued and all that. We want the matters ventilated in court so that we can clear our names. But it's really rough because you have serving police officers charged along with us a conspiracy to commit fraud. They have been interdicted since 2021, interdicted, placed on half pay, and they are there just languishing. This thing is really rough. This thing is really rough, right? So that is the reason why we were not here last week. And I suspect because of the absence, there's a lot of anxiety. People now, as I've said, we had um, over 70 persons on YouTube waiting to join. And I'm going to do the roll call. As a matter of fact, let me do the roll call now because it's going to take a little time. So let me do the roll call now for you to know those who are in class and waiting. We had the first man in class today, number one, was Lyndon. Lyndon Hopkinson, he's from Patterson, New Jersey. Then we had Winston Archer. Vibert, he came in at number 3 today. Vibert is in the US. Patricia came in next at 7:36. 7:36. John came in at 7:37. Floyd, welcome, man. Had you not mentioned the name, I would not have known that it is you. The man, Bangalang, man. Bangalang, so good to hear from you, and welcome to the program, Floyd. When I looked at the name, I didn't recognize who the person was, but then when you said that you are Bangalang, I remember Bangalang from the GT Music Machine days, man. Welcome, my brother. Good to see you around. Well, from Mingles, he was from Mingles. Then we had Lynette from the UK. Lynette came in at 7:43. Floyd came in 7:46. Edward came in next. Edward is ex-police. He's ex-police. He came in at 7:49. Then we had Carlton. Carlton, my squad mate, 9430 Lewis. He came in at 7:52. Anthony Jarvis came in at 7:57. Princess from Lamar Springs, ma. Princess is always here. Welcome, Princess. Welcome. Our good friend Derek Shotty. Shotty came in at 8:06. Then we had Everett. Then we had Redman. Raul came in here at 8:12. You all leave a class, Raul. You're taking chances this day, paid thing or CB. Making sure you come early. Then we had Jakey. Jakey is from Maryland. Jakey came in. Jakey, welcome. Carlson, I can't recall seeing Carlson before. Welcome, Carlson, to class. Sean, ex-sergeant Sean. Sean is here, always in time, always ready. From New York, seeking permission to fall in. Permission granted. Just fall in and cover down. Then my good friend here, Selwyn, was here, and Selwyn is saying, he hasn't seen no notice of appeal from Nandala Lazette, like he said, like Cathy did paper. Well, I'm going to talk about that in a little while, Selwyn. I'm going to talk about that. Isabella came in here at 8:25. John came in at 8:27. I think John's from Clarksville. Melissa came in next at 8:30. And then we have Brower, ex-sergeant 14126, came in at 8:35. Incidentally, Brower and the man who sits in the chair are squad mates. They are squad mates. 14126 Brower, 14141 C. Ikin. Then we have Jamesi came in at 8:38. Bonita came in from Paradise, West Coast Barbies. West Coast Barbies in the land. She came in at 8:39. Sydney came in next at 8:40. Troy came in at 8:42. Barbara, not a regular, came in at 8:44. Matthew was next in class at 8:50 from Virginia. Matthew's from Virginia. As I told you, people from all over the US, people from Europe, people from the Caribbean, they're all tuned into this show. Then we have Jacko. Jacko is from Georgia. And not Georgia in Europe, Georgia in the United States. Then my squad mate, Scotty, came in here at 8:58. Let me take this opportunity to wish you a belated birthday greetings. Belated birthday greetings, Scotty. I know you had a natal day, natal anniversary not so long, sometime last week, I think. So happy belated birthday to you. Natasha came in at 9. Family Music. I haven't seen this one before. Family Music came in at 9:01. Hazel came in at 9:07. And my friend from Jamaica, Dudley B., the man from Jamaica, came in here at 9:13. Always early for class, always early. Cecile came in at 9:15. Then we had Monica at 9:16. Winston from Ontario, California. Winston came in class early, 9:17. Then we have 8218 Eric Kamabats. He came in at 9:25, and he is from New Jersey. And then we had Wayne. I know Wayne is from the UK. he came in here at 9:27. Terence from Toronto, Canada, 9795. Welcome, welcome, another good student, always here on time. Francis came in, she said she came in at 9:39. But as she said, she came in, she's very late for class, and she hopefully she could get a little squeeze in. So room available, man, room available. You're not gonna be allowed, we're not gonna allow anyone to miss class. Then we had Desiree. Desiree came in at 9:44. My shooting buddy, Paul Archer, came in at 9:44 as well. He's from Ontario, Canada. Wayne, another Jacobs, he's from Brooklyn. He came in at 9:48. Brian came in at 9:52. Speaking Truth to Power. Speaking Truth to Power came in here at 9:53. Maureen came in at 9:54. And then who we had next? We had next Kevin. Then we had Otto. Otto came in here at 10:09. And Tessa, welcome, Tessa. Tessa is another person who's always here. And then we have Vibord from East Bank. Came in and Otto came back on to say that he's from Maryland. Then we have Lennox came in here at 10:13. My squad mate, Frankie, 9551. Frankie came in here at 10:14. And then we had old police, Carla Jacobs. He said his police number was 8046. And he gave his board date and everything there. He came in at 10:16. Sandra came in at 10:17. Fort Valley came in at 10:24. Then we had Claude Thomas. I remember Claude Boxerman, old TSU man, 93-42, I think it is, if I remember serves me correct. Then we had Gloria at 10:30. Doreen, my squad EW349. She came in at 10:31. She's from Canada. Tamo, Brendan came in here at 10:23. Lorraine at 10:32. Aubrey Brown came in at 10:39. Emerson came in. He's from New York. He's in Manhattan, New York, 10:40. Chill Pepper, 68. Came from Delaware. He said, let me put that up. He came from Middleton, Delaware, 10:41. Courtney Saul, next 10:42. Junior Pollard came in at 10:43. Malcolm Ned, old police. Malcolm worked with me at West Demerara. Good man. Came in here to class 10:48. Samuel Mingo came in at 10:52. Then we had Gordon Collins. Collins is an old police. He said that his regulation number was 6659. Don't know him, but that was his regular name number. And then we had the next, somebody who seems a YouTuber user came in at 10:59. I'm not familiar with that person. Then we had Sheila at 11 sharp. And then the first Facebooker was Lynette. Lynette, I think from Barbados, yes, Lynette from Barbados. Then we had the secretary coming in next. Then we had a YouTuber at a row, Matthew James, Pam, and Matthew is from Virginia. Pam came in at 10:01. Lucius, welcome. Lucius is a YouTuber, but he came in at 11:01. He's waiting for the truth. Canty, welcome, Canty. Welcome. Nicole, Chalmers, Raul. We had Patricia Atelier, a YouTuber, coming in there at 11:01. And as I did last week, well, I did the previous week, we'll come back to the Facebookers to show them out. So just to see, the people are here all over. Chilo came in at 11:02. Chilo, hope you're enjoying your vacation. Then you have a regular, Abdun from Essequibo Coast, came in here at 11:02. So let me, at this stage, let me move on with the program, because as I've said, if we continue with the roll call, we're not going to get to the program, and we're going to do some more roll calls a little later. But again, I encourage you to share the live, and as I've said to you, encourage you to go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and also while you're there, just hit the notification button so you can get the notification when the program goes live. So welcome one and all. And you know, I said we have to give thanks and praise to be in the land of the living. God is good. He has allowed us to be here this morning to take part in this program. So we should give praise and thanks. Some people are not that fortunate. I have here regretfully to announce the death of ex-detective 9915 Albert Calendar. Calendar is the man who was found dead in a building, partly decomposed body, somewhere in Lodge about a week or so ago. So, old police. Then we had the death of retired Corporal 10612 Peter Ross. Peter Ross, old police. And then outside of the police fraternity, we had the death of my good friend Colonel Lawrence Paul, retired Colonel Lawrence Paul, who died just over a week ago. As a matter of fact, Lawrence's funeral is today. He's going to be buried today. And I'm sure that CC and others in the area, I'm not in the area at this moment, not in the jurisdiction, so they will no doubt pay their respects. And then we had a death last week, a shocking one of a very good friend of mine, Tony Farnham. Tony was the secretary of the Georgetown Club, where we would meet on a Fridays and we had lunch and we would gaff and so on. Tony died suddenly, I think it was Thursday or sometime then. And I think the postmortem said heart attack. And, even the night before, I understand he played squash. He was very happy and just bouncy, played squash. And the next morning, he passed out. And, of course, you had some famous persons who transitioned in the past 2 weeks. Ari Belafonte, we know Ari. And, I was reading a little about Ari Belafonte. And even though you know about his music, Mama Luka Boo Boo and that type of thing, Yeo, and that type of thing. But then I read about his role in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. I wasn't too familiar with that, but he was very close with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So Ari Belafonte transitioned recently. And those of you who are on the program Dancing with the Stars, you would remember the Chief Judge, Len Goodman, Englishman. Len transitioned really recently too. And then it was announced that this man who Mr. Conway CC brought to Guyana to do certain investigation, the man apparently went back on the man based on what he found or based on, I don't know, what he saw. Jerry Springer died recently as well. And getting back home to Guyana, we had the death of these two very tragic, two young men over the last weekend. One drowned somewhere in the quarantine, Oriella area, and one drunk somewhere at Linden, 13 and 14. Very, very, very sad. Very, very sad. So we have to give praise and thanks, and as we would normally do, express condolences to the relatives of all those deceased persons, and wish that they rest in peace and rise in glory. Well, let me bring in Mr. Conway at this stage to join us. CC, welcome to Speaking Out. How have you been over the past 2 weeks?
I'm, I'm well, Paul. I'm well. Raring to go. Glad to be in the land of the living. My condolences to the persons who passed away. I remember Calendar, we worked in F Division together. Peter Ross worked with me too when I was commander ENF Division. And then my friend, buddy, Colonel Lawrence Paul Pablo. Over the years, we established a romance relationship. I wish to express deep sympathy to his wife and his relatives. I'll be there at the funeral after the show. And also, Paul, remember that we had today, today the common entrance day, where those young students will be writing common entrance and therefore together with I too. I want to say a special thing to my granddaughter. She left this morning to write common entrance. So, Cassandra, good morning to you. And let's move on.
Yes. And I want to also take this opportunity to wish all those children writing the, what they call it now, the grade 6 entrance examination. We used to call it common entrance. It's today and tomorrow. So you want to wish them all the best, all the best. Don't your hard work will pay off. You study, you dedicated yourself to your studies, and you are going to get the results that you are looking for. Yes, Edda, Len Goodman passed away over the past week or so. And I want to take this opportunity to wish another belated birthday greetings. I've already wished my squad mate, Carl Hartman, but then Clifton Smith, The Blues, he celebrated a birthday recently as well. So happy belated birthday to you, Smitty. Now, there was an article the day before yesterday paper in Stabrook News. So I want to clarify. Today is going to be one of those long day and teaching and so on. Let me clarify the article. It says here what it says. The headline was, it's Monday, Stabrook News. Finlay, Nandalal, and Finlay, they were referring to the current chairman of the Police Service Commission, Nandalal, the Attorney General. They say Finlay Nandalal maintained Ali acted in law in appointing the PSC head. And then they said, despite judges' rule to the contrary. Now, I think they're mixing up the issues. And I have had several calls since this article was published. Now, there are several issues. Now, let me deal with the first one. The first one relates to the challenge to the suspension of the Police Service Commission that I chaired. Mr. Conway was a member. On the 24th of March, Justice Junior Prasad ruled that the president acted unlawfully, unconstitutionally, when he suspended the Police Service Commission on the 16th of June 2021. There's one issue. So that, Mr. Nandalal, the Attorney General, in his usual bombastic manner, indicated that they will appeal. He hasn't done so yet. As far as I'm aware, he hasn't appealed yet. On 24th of March, today is the 3rd day of April, he hasn't appealed yet. So maybe he's trying to run the clock. That is his modus. He's trying to run it. So there's one issue. So don't mix that up with the other issues. And what are the other issues? Now, on the 23rd of August, I get these dates right, last year, the challenge to the appointment of the acting commissioner of police, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, Patrick Finlay, and the members of the commission. I think also the challenge also brought in the Teaching Service Commission. Mr. Arby Norton challenged those appointments. And the Chief Justice on the 23rd of August ruled in the case of the acting commissioner. She said that it was lawful. She went on to explain that, let me tell you, the Constitution says that before such an appointment can be made, the president has to consult with the leader of the opposition. The leader of the opposition argued that no consultation was done. The Chief Justice ruled that the appointment was lawful because at the time when the appointment was made, there was no opposition leader to consult with. So even though they were trying to argue the doctrine of necessity, she said that it's not a doctrine of necessity. She said it was necessary. This legal language, she said it was necessary for the appointment to be made because it's a very important position. So that is what she ruled. I must say to you that part of the ruling is appealed by Mr. Norton, his attorneys. Mr. Norton appealed that part. Now, the other part of that same ruling on the 23rd of August, or the other parts, she said that the appointment of the chairman of the Police Service Commission was also lawful. She said that appointment was also lawful, I guess, for the same reasons. There was no opposition leader at the time. Now, the other aspect, she said that the members, that the Police Service Commission was not properly constituted because there was no chairman of the Public Service Commission. There is no chairman of the Public Service Commission unto this day, and the Constitution says that the chairman of the Public Service Commission is a member of the Police Service Commission. So in the absence of the chairman of the Police Service Commission, the Public Service Commission, in the absence of the chairman of the Public Service Commission, there can be no duly constituted Police Service Commission. That is the ruling. That part too has been appealed. The Attorney General appealed. So both aspects of the ruling are appealed and are pending. So let me clarify that. So when the Finlay and Nandalal maintained that Ali acted in law when he appointed the PSC head, the Chief Justice agreed with certain aspects, but the matter is appealed. And until such time that it is pronounced on, we have to go with that. But here was a catch, or here what has happened. And that is why I believe that jump to make statements, which I'll deal with later. Because there is evidence that notwithstanding the ruling of the Chief Justice that the Police Service Commission is not properly constituted and therefore cannot function until the chairman of the Public Service Commission is appointed. to be a part of that body. They have gone ahead, the Police Service Commissioner and Patrick Finlay, they have gone ahead and have been carrying out functions. I saw in social media and in one of the newspapers they promoted a youngster to cadet officer. And let me say, we have nothing against the person being promoted. We have nothing. It's not something personal. I think Doris is the name. Nothing at all. But the Constitution is the Constitution. The ruling of the court is the ruling of the court. And if the Chief Justice ruled that the Police Service Commission is not properly constituted and therefore cannot perform any function, how can they go ahead with just openly defy the ruling of the court? The same thing with disciplinary matters. The Police Service Commission has a constitutional responsibility to deal with disciplinary matters, right? Now that you don't have a Police Service Commission, a properly constituted Police Service Commission, they have gone ahead. They have gone ahead like a runaway train and are dealing with legal matters. I don't know, these police officers will sit and take these unconstitutional directions and orders like that. It's up to them. And coming back to the suspension of the Police Service Commission too, the judge ruled on the 24th of March that the suspension was unlawful, unconstitutional, ultra virus the relevant article of the Constitution, null, void, and of no legal effect. It therefore means that all actions taken by that Police Service Commission I chair are lawful. Yet we promoted some people who have not up to now benefited from the promotion. The Attorney General on the 29th of June 2021 said that the government are not going to recognize those promotions, and they have not recognized the promotions up to now. But the officers are sitting back. I don't know what they're waiting for. They're waiting for me to fight the case. I get my own cases to fight. They're waiting. So it's a lot of unconstitutional, unlawful actions, and they're sitting back and they're taking it. So I thought it was important for me to clarify that article because it's a bit misleading. And several persons have called me to seek clarification. So that is the clarification. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. Mr. Conway, you want to add anything to what I've just said?
I just to confirm what you said, and particularly the last part, Paul, where the the judge rules, he just rules that the Service Commission cannot perform any functions of the commission. And there's it. The writing, I saw a letter to Deputy Superintendent stating that they proceed with disciplinary action against him for neglect of duty and some other offense. And also, they appointed 3 persons to inquire into the matter. They didn't investigate, but right away they didn't enforce. They appointed a way called a investigating officer to inquire in the matter. But yet still they go at breakneck speed and appoint persons to into be disparate to conduct disparate inquiry. And apart from that, the chairman and the secretary has been moving more the place in the divisions, talking to policemen. The last one I can recall is that I went to Borbis, New Amsterdam, and the Felix Artin Police College on the quarantine, where they held discussions where the commandant in Borbis instructed officers, inspectors, and some officers to be present at those meetings. So they run about the place and performing functions of the Service Commission when the judge ruled that they cannot perform any functions. This is a total flagrant violation of the order of the Chief Justice. And I hope that persons will bring them to court for contempt of court, particularly the chairman, Finley, and the secretary and the secretary. I hope that contempt proceedings will be filed very shortly against them. We cannot get people breaching the Constitution with impunity and then no action is taken. No way, it must not happen. We must obey the Constitution.
Well, well said. Well said. Yes, they can, based on the ruling of the and let me clarify further too, because the Chief Justice made it clear. I had to go back and I read the ruling. Made it clear that all actions taken, I think she said up to the 29th of July, something like that. Um, she made the point that she was going to use the de facto doctrine to save
Yeah.
the actions taken by that commission. So therefore, and this is a question that keeps coming up, the promotions that were made on the 2nd of July, in addressing that, the Chief Justice said that she was using the de facto doctrine to save the promotions. Well, she went on to point out it was made clear that no action can be taken by the commission after that ruling until such time that the commission is properly constituted, properly and fully constituted. And yet still, as you pointed out, they have gone ahead and they're doing as if nothing happened. The chairman has no authority to go ahead and say you're holding meeting because he's the chairman of the Police Service Commission. And if there's no Police Service Commission, on whose behalf? He can be operating on his own independent behalf. The same thing with the secretary. And I would hope that they are brought before the court very shortly for contempt. I see Selvin is making a comment. Oh, he said Selvin is saying that the contempt application is on the slow march. And he said he's put the pun. No pun intended when using the word slow. Yeah, but this thing is taking too long. This thing is taking too long. These people are openly violating the Constitution and the order of the court, and they must be brought to books. They must be brought to books. We can't, and the Attorney General like to speak about the rule of law. There can be no rule of law operating in a country where the court made an order and it is openly violated. Remember, there's no stay was applied for nor granted. So therefore, the order of the Chief Justice stands. So even though they have appealed, the orders or the ruling, there's no stay on it, meaning that there's nothing saying that the order is not to be put into effect until the appeal. It's the contrary. The order stands until such time that there's an appeal and it is the appeal decided that the order might not be correct. So that is what we have, and people talking about the rule of law, and we're going to address that a little later. I hope you students today have time to be in class to hear what we have to say. Now, let me go to the next issue here, and they there can be no doubt people who live and people read. We talk about the number of fatal accidents every week. Every week you get 2-3 people dying on the road. I read something last week where the police issued a release and they're making a distinction now between fatal accidents and fatal incidents. I don't know, and therefore maybe they would want to let the public know what is the distinction between a fatal accident and a fatal incident. I remember back in my day, remember I was traffic chief on 2 occasions. There were fatal incidents, of course, but the most known fatal incident used to be when some tractor operator operating a tractor in the back dam, in the cane, in the rice field or somewhere in those places, and the tractor turns over, pins him, kills him. That is an incident. It occurs in some rice field or some dam, some place, which is not public road or the public don't have access to it. So we could understand that. But quite recently, they have decided that you have fatal accidents and fatal incidents. And even the number that they are providing, the media people who have been keeping tabs on these things are saying that the number is wrong. So they just last week, they issued a release as of Wednesday, as of last Wednesday, Wednesday the 26th of April, they say a total of 50 persons lost their lives due to vehicle accident. People are saying that the people who have been keeping tabs, I have not been keeping tabs, but I know they have some media houses have been keeping tabs because they cannot rely on the police figures. They have been keeping tabs, and they say that the number is much larger than that. And then we have the president call, again relating to accident. He says, last week they had the opening of the police officers conference, and the president made remarks about the traffic situation. And I have a note here. He says, speaking at the opening of the annual police officers conference last Thursday, the president said the reckless driving on the country's roadway need to come to an end. President is also reported to have said one of my greatest distress, and I quote here, one of my greatest distress as I speak to you this morning is what is transpiring on our roadways, end of quote. He talked about reckless behavior and said that this must stop. Well, I don't know if you can just dream or you wish it to stop and it can stop. Let me bring in Mr. Conway here because remember, not so long ago, the man who sits in the chair had a meeting to address the traffic situation. And what did he do? He transferred all the traffic heads. He told them that they must line the roads. Hear madness. Hear madness. They must line the roads to prevent people from speeding. And then he made some other nonsensical pronouncements. But here it is, weeks after that meeting, the president is calling on them to do something. And then he say, must stop. Oh, it's going to stop. We have said on this program repeatedly that this thing requires a very holistic approach. Not just people going on the road and saying the thing must stop and constables mustn't stop vehicles and check documents without an officer, inspector, and all sort of nonsense. That is not going to prevent anything from going on, from continuing. We pointed out the corruption in the system to get driver's license and a whole host of other issues that if these things are not properly addressed, the president could talk until he mouth white. The lawlessness will continue. The lawlessness is likely to continue because nobody is doing anything. You have more the peak from the minister responsible, Minister of Home Affairs, who incidentally is the licensing authority. The man who sits in the chair, as I said, come out with these nonsensical things. And that's what you have. There has not been any proper statement to tell us, the public, what they intend to do to address this worrying situation. CC, your comments, please.
Yeah, Paul. The thing is that the police have what they call a strategic plan to deal with the madness that is going on the road. But for us, it is confidential. For us, it is secret that the president does not know about it. It's a 100. It's written in 101 pages by the strategic unit, and the strategic unit they have a group of persons there, and nobody isn't steep in strategic thinking. Nobody not even have a diploma in strategic management. What they do, they attempted to tweak what Capital Simmons had submitted. Capital Simmons had submitted a 5-year strategic plan for the Guyana Police Force, and it sits on some pillars. Now, the one that they tweak, they have operation, people, performance, partnership, infrastructure, professionalism, and accountability. Capital Simmons had operational priorities, so they drop priorities, and also they include professionalism and accountability. But when you look at it, Paul, you wanted to know what really is happening. Like madness on the road and madness in the strategic plan. And let me give you some idea what I wrote. I wrote them down. What did they talk about the strategic plan to deal with traffic? And here is the strategic objective: to develop and implement a robust and traffic management system by the end of 2026. I don't understand what's robust and traffic management system, and it should by the end of 2026. There's a plan, 2026. There's no short term, there's no medium term plan, but by 2026, the intended strategic objective is to develop and implement a robust traffic management system by the end of 2026. Good. How do you measure the measurable objectives? They want to find out whether or not they'll be winning or losing the battle. And here is this measurable objective: improve the traffic posture and traffic management system by 2026. Could you imagine that? Improve the traffic posture. And the top man is very famous, like to use the word posture. And traffic management system. What is the traffic management system? By 2026. No short term, no medium term. And this one gonna kill me now. Research, um, things required. What they're required for the traffic for this strategic plan is one equipment, one word equipment. What equipment they're talking about? What equipment they're talking about? Two, workshop. What workshop? Three, law and driver seminar. How much they gonna hold? When they gonna hold them? What focus will be on? And there's a traffic management plan. Traffic management plan. And listen to their strategic activities. Conducts seminars with road users and drivers quarterly to promote road safety on an annual basis by 2026 and 2026 compounded time. Let me repeat it. Conduct seminars with road users and drivers quarterly to promote road safety on an annual basis. Number two, conduct traffic safety campaigns and educational program. What campaigns are talking about? What educational program is talking about? Then the next one, conduct law and driver sessions monthly with the regional divisions by 2026. Develop and implement a traffic management plan and implement robots traffic management system in collaboration with agency and government departments. Which agencies they're talking about? Which government departments they're talking about? I said before, and I'm going to repeat it, that if you're going to do a strategic plan, it has to be smart. It has to be specific. This one is not specific. It has to be measurable. They don't have measuring tools. It has to be achievable. It cannot be achieved. It is not realistic and it's not timely. So the madness will continue on the road because this if this is their strategic plan, well then God help us. What they need to do is to confront the traffic situation frontally, con- confront it professionally and professionally, not what we call piecemeal effort. There need to be an holistic approach towards it. And look at the corruption. I always have to refer to Rohan Singh, who was in charge of the audit and investigation unit of the police force. And he actually submitted a damning report where he talked about corruption at traffic headquarters, corruption at the divisional offices, corruption at the stations. And he made a very damning conclusion. Rohan Singh submitted that over 1,157 potential killers were let loose on our roads. Perhaps they have since graduated to real killers. That's why we get in all this. And nobody has done any work to identify those persons who got their license illegally and those persons who give them illegally. So those things aren't be done. And unless they address it, unless they address this traffic situation holistically, frontally, professionally, things will continue to happen. They say that they're praying for divine intervention, but God help those who help themselves. And the police not helping themselves, particularly with this tragedy, this strategic plan to deal with the lawlessness that is taking place on our roads.
Yeah, my brother. Well said. Well said. When you use certain words about professionally and all this other thing, those words are alien to some people. Those words are alien to some people, and that is why we got to continue to have the problem. Because if you recall, we said too that the elephant in the room is the fifth, or the sixth C, which is
Yeah.
corruption, and
Corruption,
they are not
corruption.
addressing. They are not going to address that. If you don't address that, the president could have said talk until he mouth white, talk till the cows come home. There's not likely to be any improvement at all in the road situation. It's a frightening situation. People have been telling me about those trucks on the East Bank and elsewhere. The speed with which they drive, given the load that they are carrying. And some people have said it's a miracle that you don't have more fatal accidents involving those sand trucks. So that is what we have. So that is what we have. So if you don't, you put together what you call a strategic plan, and the things, these issues, a burning issue like the use of roads, is not, the issue is not properly addressed. There's no proper plan to deal with it. So nothing is mentioned about the allegations of corruption in the process of issuing license, and so many other things, right? So many other things. You're talking about suspension of license. You're talking about revocation of license. These things are not mentioned at all. So I don't know where we are heading. The madness will continue. Madness will continue. Man is saying here, Essequibo Road, there are fatal accident involving a truck and a pedestrian 2 nights ago on the Essequibo coast. So these things are occurring. This is not slow and Conway making these things up. These things are occurring. Now let me move to the next issue. Someone asked me about just over a week ago, what is the law giving the police authority to clamp vehicles? You know, there have been pictures in the news on social media of police clamping vehicles that are illegally parked. In one case, they said a vehicle causing obstruction, they clamped the vehicle. I said here before, it makes no sense, absolutely no sense, to clamp a vehicle that is causing obstruction. A vehicle is causing obstruction, the aim should be to remove the vehicle so as to get rid of the obstruction. When you clamp a vehicle causing obstruction, it means that the obstruction continues. The obstruction continues. The vehicle, if a vehicle is causing obstruction, it should be towed. And you know, I researched the law in respect to this clamping, and I cannot find any law in Guyana which gives the police the authority to clamp a vehicle. Section 61 of the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act deals with removal of vehicles that are causing obstruction, removal of vehicles. It says that you can remove, and I made a note here because it says, speak to the removal, the police, it said the police or anyone authorized by the police can remove a vehicle and tow it away. And then it says it shall be the duty of any member of the force to take all reasonable steps to remove or to employ some other person to remove, and where necessary to provide for the safe custody of any vehicle if he has reasonable reasons to believe, one, the owner or driver of the or person in control or in charge has failed to take all reasonable steps to remove or cause it to be removed in accordance with Section 1. Then it says further that the vehicle it has been abandoned. You can remove it. And then C, it says that the owner or the driver or the person in control or in charge thereof cannot be found, and the vehicle has been permitted to remain at rest on a road in contravention of any statutory provision or restriction in such a position or in such a condition or in such circumstances as to be likely to cause danger to other persons using the road. That is what the law says. That is what the law is. And then it goes on to tell you about you have an obligation when once you're going to remove the vehicle, you have an obligation to take reasonable care to do so. So you can't just go and pull the vehicle and block it up. You got to take reasonable care. And then it says that once you take reasonable care, the person shall not be liable for any damage. And Section 6 of that same Section 61, which is very interesting, it says expenses incurred in the execution of duties imposed by subsection 2 may be recovered and enforced in a summary manner before a magistrate under the Summary Petty Debt Act by and on behalf of the Commissioner of Police as a civil debt from the owner or driver or other persons in control of or in charge of the vehicle, whatever may be the amount of such expenses. So basically what it's saying that once you remove under this section, then you got to go to court to recover. But also other craziness, we know, people tell you got to go and pay money here and pay money there. But as I've said, the question was asked of me, and I decided to do a little research, and that is what my research showed. I cannot find any law which says that the police can clamp the vehicle. So, and you do these things, and when they are challenged, then you run into problems. So that is what the lies. CC, you want to say anything on that?
You're quite clear, you know. I myself did my own checks and I couldn't find anything in terms of clamping the vehicle. And then I think they say you clamp it and when you go to the station, you got to pay some kind of money. But the life's clear, you got to go before the court. Got to go before the court. But, you know, all sort of things going on in traffic is one of the instances which they need to look at. And I see they clamp a police vehicle too. So I wonder who paid for that thing.
Well, you see, that's the thing. That is the thing, because and this, this program, as we said, this try to educate not only members of the public but members of the force, because they do these things and they don't know what legal authority they have. So therefore, when these matters are challenged in a court of law, they're left floundering. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. So I hope they would do the research and make sure that they're covered properly covered legally. Now, the next issue is sometime last week again, there was an accident in the mall on the East Bank. I think it's called the Amazonia Mall or something like that. That's where they have this new big thing with Starbucks, where you have Massey store. They had a accident there. Lady wrote a letter, or she wrote an article, something like that, on social media, claiming that she was coming out and some young man speeding hit the vehicle, or vehicle, damage it extensively. She went to the station, I think it was Rangveld or some station, I'm not sure which station it was, to make a report. And the police reaction was, well, it's private property, we can't do nothing about it. What? What? Even if it is private property, you want to tell me that if two vehicles collide in a private property and someone dies, you're saying that you can't do anything about it? But let me tell you, that is not so. The police have a duty to entertain the report and to do the investigation. You might not be able to charge under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act because the place where the accident occurred might not be considered a road. But you have to do the investigation. You can't just summarily, arbitrarily decide, well, it happened in a mall and therefore you can't do anything about it. And as I've said before, what happens if someone dies or is seriously injured? Are you suggesting, well, I think the told her it's a private matter. Are you suggesting that it is private if a person dies in an accident like that? So I want to say to the traffic chief and all those persons concerned, because I recognize, we know that they listen at very senior levels, those who are actually listening have an arrangement for reports to be made to them, and based on what transpired on this program, you have to address this issue. An accident like that occurs, you have to investigate, because you might very well find other things. You have to investigate. Yes, when you finish the investigation, we need to put up a report for legal advice as to the way forward. It might very well be that you're going to be advised that, look, they should take private action. But you cannot just tell the person, well, we can't do nothing about it. It's a private matter. No, that is not the way the thing works. That is not the way it should work. That is not the way. It's laziness, perhaps lack of knowledge, proper supervision, all kind of thing can be blamed for that. Mr. Conway, your
Yeah, I remember when I was commander ENF division, and they had a accident deep in the mines of Kukwani. Person died, and there were lots of arguments, you know, because people saying it's not a road and it's not a public place and all sorts of things. But the DPP advised them that we can't charge a man for causing death by dangerous driving because the accident happened deep down in the mines, which is really private property. But the guy was charged for manslaughter. To charge him for manslaughter. So the things, you know, that you need to look at, and you just can't say it's a private place and nothing up. Just like how they're doing a car run off a road, end up in a trench, and they said it's a fatal incident, not a fatal accident. So they need to get their act together.
yeah, they need to indeed, because again, it's the and these things are impacting on the way people perceive the police as corrupt, as incompetent, and they have to address it. These making these statements to the media and at conferences not going to cut it. People have to see tangible improvement on the ground, and the only way things can improve on the ground is if you acquire the knowledge and you try to implement the knowledge in a very professional way. Now, talking about that, that will segue right into the notification I put up for this program yesterday, where I said that I'm going to deal with the issue of breathalyzer. So let me deal with this right now. This issue of the use of breathalyzer. Recently, you will have seen in the news a couple of days ago that I think the May 1 was the anniversary of the death of this young McDC boy who was killed in a fatal accident somewhere in Georgetown. And the driver of the vehicle was charged with causing death by dangerous driving and for being a drunk driver. He was above the legal limit. And it was reported in the media that the drunk driving charge has been dismissed by the magistrate. They even reference a previous drunk driving charge against a former chief of staff, Bess, and the matter was dismissed as well. And they went on to say the reason that the lawyer advanced, the lawyer representing the man who's charged with drunk driving, he advanced, and the ruling by the magistrate. But I find it very appalling and disturbing that onto this in 2023, they cannot give proper evidence to convict a person for drunk driving. And I say this because I recall this amendment to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act to make the use of breathalyzer tests legal came in 2008. I was in the force then at operations, and I called over the traffic chief. Neil Semple was the traffic chief at the time, and we sat down and I put together a training guidelines for how the breathalyzer test should be used. And further, I recall during this standing order review, for which we are charged with the committing fraud, we did a standing order. It is there. So the man who sits in the chair, the minister and all these people, these things are there for them to look at. And I pulled up because I did the SOP on it. And I have it because it's me work. I have it to get it. And I want to go through very quickly some of the things that were mentioned about the breathalyzer test. Now, I started out here, the preamble, and I got you all. It said, where the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act has been amended and make it an offense for a person to drive or attempt to drive or be in charge of. You hear what the law say? If you drive, if you attempt to drive, or you be in charge of a motor vehicle on a road or public place, on a road or public place. So that brings us back to the same Amazonia Mall. So even though that might not be a road, it's a public place. And it goes on to say, if he has consumed alcohol in such quantity that the proportion thereof in his breath or blood exceeds the prescribed limit, his breath or blood exceeds the prescribed limit. Then the amendment makes provision for the use of breath and blood testing instruments to determine the alcohol content in a person's breath or blood. And the young policeman, listen out, you could always look back on YouTube and make your note. Hear what it says, breath test. And this is what I don't think they understand. There is a breath test and there's a breath analysis. The law provides for a breath test and it also provides for a breath analysis. Now, what is a breath test? And we're teaching what is a breath test. It says the breath test means the quantitative measuring of the proportion of alcohol in a person's breath. A breath test is conducted by inviting a person to blow into the measuring device. Example, the breathalyzer machine. And it says here, the test would normally be conducted by a rank on the road. That is what a breath test is. So what you're doing on the road, you tell a man blow, that is a breath test. Now the breath analysis, listen to this carefully, people. A breath analysis means a quantitative measuring of the proportion of alcohol in a person's blood. A breath analysis can only be conducted, listen to this carefully, it can only be conducted by ranks authorized by the Minister of Home Affairs. Such a test is to be conducted at a police station or any place where the instrument to conduct the analysis has been installed. So I have a note here, while any rank can conduct a breath test only rank authorized by the Minister of Home Affairs can conduct a breath analysis. You have the breath test, you have the breath analysis. And then I go on to point out, a very important point, it says it is noted that the breath test can be conducted on any person that the police have reasonable cause to suspect is driving, attempts to drive, or is in charge of a motor vehicle on a road or public place. If he has alcohol in his breath, which is above the prescribed limit. So we're talking here about reasonable cause. So this thing, you can't go around the place and just stop a man randomly and say blow. And the joke is, when the thing came out first, you used to make a joke. They stop a man and the man drunk and they tell the man, blow. The man said, pump up. The man said, no, sir. He said, key. So he blowing like a car horn. That is not the type of blowing we're talking about, or some other form of blowing that is familiar to some people. That is not what we're talking about. We talk about when he blows into the instrument, so the instrument can measure the alcohol in his breath. And and at that time, I think there has been some amendment, because at that time the prescribed limit was 35 micrograms of alcohol in 100 milliliters of breath. At that time, that is what it was. And then we gave guidelines. The guidelines are here. The guidelines are here. Here what it says. 1, having stopped the vehicle or approaching the driver in the case of attempting or being in charge of a vehicle, the driver must be told the reason for the stop or approach. Example, what gave reasonable cause for suspecting the driver has alcohol in his system above the prescribed limit. Again, you can't just stop randomly. The law doesn't allow for that. The man makes you run some red light, or you make some dangerous maneuver, that may give you reasonable cause to administer the test. And 2, the driver must be invited to blow into the breathalyzer machine. It is to be noted that the driver should be given a new mouthpiece, which will be fitted to the breathalyzer. As to the mouthpiece in his presence, you got to put on the mouthpiece, new, take it out of the wrapping, put it on, and invite him to blow. 3, they say if the results indicate that the alcohol level is above the prescribed limit, the driver is to be told of the offense, arrested, and taken to the station. 4 says, under no circumstances must a driver who has been tested and found to have alcohol in the system above the prescribed limit be allowed to continue driving. That should be common sense. So once you test and the man drunk above the legal limit, he should not be allowed to drive. It goes on to say, 5, it is the responsibility of the arresting rank to secure the vehicle that the arrested driver was in control of. The vehicle must be lodged at the police station. If the driver refuses to take the breathalyzer test, he must be arrested and taken to the station. On arrival at the station, all the relevant books, example station, diary, charge sheet, must be appropriately written up. It is to be noted that the law provides for a driver who, having refused to take a breathalyzer test on the road and is arrested, be given an opportunity to provide a specimen of breath, a specimen for the breath test at the police station. But I go through this is something we took time for write and was part of the training. And then the procedure to conduct a breath analysis. The breath analysis, we say, and here this people, again, police in particular, we teaching. As indicated earlier, a breath analysis can only be conducted by a rank who is authorized to do so by the Minister of Home Affairs. This analysis is done at the police station or the place where the instrument has been installed. I don't know if they get this analysis instrument installed anyway. They're relying on the blood test on the road alone. And then here what it goes on to say, this is not me, this is about the law. And this is what we extracted from the law for the purpose of teaching the policemen. So for the purpose of the breath analysis, the driver must provide 2 separate specimens of breath for analysis. 2 separate specimens of breath for analysis. There must be an interval of not less than 2 minutes and not more than 10 minutes between the provisions of the specimens. Then it goes on to say, it therefore follows, and this is the teaching part, what we are teaching these policemen, it therefore follows that it is of critical importance for the times the specimens are given to be recorded. You got to make a note, because the law say the law say 2 minutes, unless the driver must provide 2 separate. They said there must be an interval of not less than 2 minutes and not more than 10 minutes before. And then it goes on to say, it is to be noted that the specimen which indicates the lower reading, indicating a lower concentration of alcohol in the person's breath, shall be taken to be the result of the breath analysis. And then the last part we talked about in this training document that I prepared has to do with action after an accident. It says here, after the occurrence of an accident, the driver must be made to undergo a breath test. If after the accident the driver are admitted to the hospital for medical treatment, the police should not require the driver to undergo a breath test or breath analysis unless the registered medical practitioner in immediate charge of that person agrees to the test or analysis. Does anyone member of the force has reasonable cause to believe that the person was involved in an accident within the preceding 2 hours, which resulted in the death or serious injury which resulted in death or serious injury at the time of the accident, the person had alcohol in his breath above the prescribed limit, the rank is allowed to administer the breath test or breath analysis on that person. It is to be noted that if that person does anything to alter the concentration of alcohol in his breath or blood within the 2 hours mentioned above, he shall be guilty of an offense. But these things, the document is there, but is the training And let me go on before I bring in Mr. Conway. I have some other notes here. We talk about the SOP because the headline in this topic 2 said breathalyzer evidence continues to be a weak link in court. And for the purpose of educating the ranks, we say that when you go to court, if you are going to charge a person, as in this case highlighted by in the Starbuck 2, you charge a person for being above the legal limit. You have got to, when you go to court to give evidence, you have to give evidence, you have to lead evidence to show that the meter was calibrated and was functioning properly at the time when the test was done. You can't just go and expect that the court can accept that this meter, and that is the argument most of the lawyers will make. They'll question you about when last the meter was calibrated, when last it was checked. You can't give the evidence. It's probably getting. You have got to give that evidence. And I made a note here to say that the court cannot be expected to take judicial notice of the correctness of the meter. And judicial notice, fancy legal term, basically it means that you have to lead evidence then. For court to take, let me say it is, judicial notice is used by a court when it declares a fact presented as evidence as true without formal presentation of evidence. But the court is not going to take judicial notice that this thing is working properly. You have got to lead the evidence. And I'm saying this to all the senior people who parading and masquerading as all they call themselves deputy commissioner this and deputy commissioner that when you're not. You have got to initiate the action to make sure the people are properly trained. You show the men on the road, give them breathalyzer test, same to the speed gun, you give them the speed gun. They have no proper training in the use of these machines. So when you go to court and somebody pleads not guilty, and they're required to give the evidence, they don't know the ace from the backside. And that is the problem. These matters are going to all go through the window. So you have an obligation to make sure that the ranks are properly trained in the use of these instruments. You have an obligation to make sure the ranks are properly trained in order to give evidence in court. You got to get mock court and all these type of things. You got a whole set of people, you bring in 29 of them, you call them prosecutors, promote them to sergeants. They can be made, you should make use of their services. So when a rank goes to court to give evidence in this matter, he knows what he's going to say. And now, even before he goes to the court, he writes a statement which can stand scrutiny. He writes a statement which can stand scrutiny. And unless you do that, I predict that every single case of drunk driving that goes before the court and is challenged, gonna go the same way, it's gonna be dismissed. Because in many cases too, the ranks are afraid from the time a person plead not guilty, they don't know how to give evidence, they're frightened. So they're turning up, they report sick, they're absent, and then the matter is dismissed. In some cases, some people say they're going to Jackie Opel. People pay and then turn up. These things have to be addressed. And therefore, when the president speaks of reckless driving and people talk often about the driving under the influence of alcohol, people drive under the influence of alcohol, yes. But if you don't have a proper system to deal with it, What you expect gonna happen? Because I'm saying to you now that the system is not properly administered. Breathalyzer, because you can, long ago, let me back up to say, before the introduction of the breathalyzer in 2008, you couldn't get a conviction, difficult to get a conviction, because when you took a person who was drunk as a fish, you had to take him to the hospital for the doctor to examine and to give a certificate to say that he believes that the person is drunk to the extent that he cannot control the vehicle. Them doctors say, well, I got to court and give the evidence. So in many cases, the person is taken there, the person sits there for hours until the alcohol come with the system and so on, and then they're gonna examine. And that was the problem you had. Doctors were reluctant to pronounce on the amount of alcohol in the person's blood, because when they got to the court, yes, they would have had bad experiences. When they go to give the evidence, it's blows in the witness box, and therefore they try to avoid that. But then you amended the law in 2008, brought in the use of a breathalyzer machine, and then you have not done any proper training. And I said, I am so disappointed, because I sat down, took a lot of time, and penned this thing that I just went through for the purpose of training the ranks. And again, I say, when we were doing that standing order review just before election of COVID, that would have been 2019. There's a standing order right there now. Standing order. There was a draft standing order we did. It's there, even though they say we end to no work and we collect money by fraud. It is there. I remember very well. We sat down and we used the same document and we modified it because this was basically a training document. But we modified this document in the form of to be the form of a standing order, which was to be circulated and to be complied with by all the rank. But that is what we have. That is what we have. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. I take a lot of debate in there. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. CC, do you wish to add anything on that?
Yeah, I must, because I can remember that standing out that order, the SOP, quite well, because I was in training and I had to design. I think it was Larry, this was the commission. I had to design a training program to so that we can use the documents. And I remember we trained a whole set of people, not only traffic men, members of other members of the uniform section, even all the recruits who are presently in training had to undergo that type of training. And we don't need to talk about the theory, we had practical exercises. And critical to what you're saying, Paul, is that the person who administering all those tests, they got to be approved by the minister, even the equipment and all. And when type of proof, it's published in the official gazette. Publish in the official gazette the names of the persons who are authorized and even the equipment. I remember first when we started introducing speed gun, um, I had to go to the Ghana National Bureau of Standards, and they had equipment to calibrate those guns. We had to send some of those guns to Trinidad. I think Trinidad had the equipment, but all didn't go. Some went, and then it was very expensive. I don't know if by now the National Bureau of Standards have the equipment to calibrate the equipment, but the equipment has got to be calibrated and the evidence got to be given. Watch about a couple of sometime last year, I was in a vehicle with a friend. We went to Ogle, come back, and we cruising on the Kitty Public Road. And there's a man with a policeman with a gun stop us. Hey, y'all do 95. I say you gotta be crazy. You know what I say you gotta be crazy. I say, look, the most we're doing is about 30 because we were cruising. I said, when last was that gun collaborated? He said, you know. And when I watch a gun, the gun had a whole set of tape on it, a whole set of tape. And then there were two of them, and then the car said, yeah, yeah, go along your way, but yeah, go along your way. So it could very well be that most of those equipment that they're using, the breathalyzer and the speed gun, they are not functioning properly because they were not recently calibrated, and you have to go and give the evidence. You have to go and give the evidence that hey, I I was authorized by the minister and published in the official gazette. And about the equipment used, you have to give that evidence. If you don't give the evidence, the case can from the board. And also, if you look at it, is that section 39A 9 A to C telling you that the minister has got to authorize the breath analysis instrument. And also, he had to got to authorize the persons, the policemen to do to, to conduct the exercise. So it's not just telling a man they blow and blow and blow. And Paul, you sound like a blow man when you're talking there. That's not only blowing anything, is that you got to look at the equipment and the person who administering the exercise.
Well, they have enough here to go on and to make sure that they read the law. They got a lot of liars among them now, you know. Yeah,
Mm.
that's so-called liars. They got a lot of lawyers who can read the relevant law and make sure that the people are advised and trained to administer the law in the manner it was intended. But there's an interesting question here from my friend from Jamaica, who I know was a traffic man. Um, we went to um, we went to Chicago some years ago when I was traffic chief at a program there at the university to deal with traffic. And he asked him is the question: the absence of the breath test, can a field sobriety test be done in order to have the suspect taken to the station for analysis? Very good question. I don't know it. Well, I suspect it can be done. And when he talks about field sobriety test, again, here you have to have guidelines. You have to have proper guidelines. What is a field sobriety test? And you know, in some jurisdiction, they tell you to put your finger on your nose. And if you can't find your nose, you juke your eye. That's an indication, perhaps, that you're drunk. There's a line they ask you to walk the line. That is far. That's what you refer to as a field sobriety test. But I don't know that we have provisions in Guyana for any field sobriety test. So, Dudley, this is a very interesting question, and I'm hoping that those in authority who listen to this program will address that issue. Very good question because I didn't remember that part. But if there is no proper field sobriety test, then they need to devise something. They need to devise some field sobriety test and have it implemented. Again, I say that if we're going to address the carnage on the roads in Guyana, all of these things you have to look at. You can't just look at any piecemeal measure. You have to look at things in its totality. And a field sobriety test will be a very good, should be a very good innovation. But Dudley, the next issue is, and you rightly pointed out, you do the field sobriety on the road, but then you have to take the person to the station to have the breath analysis. I am not sure that they have breath analysis machines at the stations, and that too is a problem. I am not sure that they have breath analysis machines because the law says the breath analysis machines have to be at a station, police station, or any other place authorized by the minister for it to be in operation. I am not sure that they have that. I doubt whether. And even if they have it, again, you have to train people, got to be gazetted to use it and so on. Just as how you gazette certifying officers to examine vehicles and to administer tests, you have to administer, you have to gazette people to do the breath analysis. If you don't do that, you're not making any sense. Now, let me, before I move to the next subject, let me shout out some people as I had promised who are here. We have Carl came in. I start from the bottom this time. Carl is here. Who else? Pito, Old Police 8152 is here with us this morning. Welcome, Pito. Cheryl, a regular, is here as well. Welcome, welcome, Cheryl. Leslyn is here. Welcome to you people. Commissioner Cole. Commissioner Cole said, yeah, we teaching. Keep up the excellent education, Professor. She elevate me to Professor. Thank you very much, Commissioner Cole. We have Lorleen is here. We have somebody who calls himself YouTuber. Who else? Who else? Who else? Welcome, 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 welcome. We have Joe Ben is here. Joe Ben, illegal for the police officer to go to a private business home to collect. No, that can't be legal, man. So the whole story. Who else we have with us here? Simona is here with us. A regular Carol is here. Welcome, Carol. Welcome. Sister Trifosa is here with us this morning. Welcome, Trifosa. Welcome, welcome, welcome to all of you. Nigel, another regular is here. He speaks about, I think Nigel is from the UK. And most of the trucks imported into Guyana from the UK are not roadworthy in the UK, seriously. Um, who else we have? I mentioned Abdul earlier, a regular is here. Um, Abdul is here with us. Andrew is here this morning. Colin Popo, welcome, 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 welcome to all of you. Welcome to all of you. Um, let me continue. The next issue that I want us to look at briefly, CC, is a report. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday. That no, not yesterday. Over the weekend, there was a report out of Linden that the former regional chairman, Mr. Sharma Solomon, was arrested by the police. And basically, what happened is, based on the report on social media, they had a meeting. You know, Sharma Solomon is a PNCR um, executive, or at least he's a member on the People's National Congress Reform Group, at some meeting. And some man who is said to be a supporter of the PPP went to the police station and made a report that he was assaulted by Solomon. Whereupon the police arrested Solomon, and I think he spent, I can't tell, 2 or 3 hours at the station. Then he was sent to. You know what? There's a lot of things wrong here with the police action. And I want us to again advise and teach the police. Now, a person goes to a police station and makes a report that he was assaulted. You can't just go and arrest the person against whom the report was made just like that. Yes, the person, you have to entertain the report. And by entertaining the report, I mean you make a record in the occurrence book that this report was made at this particular time. Now, depending on the nature, for example, if the person has injuries, you might want to escort that person to get medical attention soon after. But then it is important, before you do anything else, you have to get a statement from the person. He has to either write a statement and give it to you, or you take a statement from him, explaining exactly what transpired. And in a matter like this, what you got to do too, you got to ask the person in the statement, let them say, who else saw this assault? Who else was present? If other people were present, you have to seek to get corroboration. So you got to go to them to find out if what the man is saying is true. And once you satisfy yourself it is true, then and only then you can go to say you arrest. You have to have grounds to arrest. The fact that the person comes to a station and say, hey, I was assaulted by Solomon, that is not sufficient grounds for you to say you're going to arrest the man. So you got to understand, but this police working so wild under these political directions and so on. I sure that the only reason they move with alacrity to arrest is because it's Sharma Solomon, who is seen as an opposition person. But no, that is not the way the police work should be done. You have got to take a statement, as I've said. Take a statement from the person who's making the report. Are there witnesses to this assault? Yes. Who are the people? You try to get them to corroborate the story. No, nobody else was me and he. But right away you recognize me and he, no marks or anything like that. You then 10 years grounds. That is where we used to say the IACR comes in. PAA. PAA. And for those of you who don't know PAA, when you write PAA in the occurrence book, it means private action advised. Because once you don't have corroboration, either through a medical or something like that, you have to get independent witnesses. That is what empowers you, the police, to say go in and make arrests. But not as so a man turn up at the police station, hey, this man knocked me, you're gone, and you say you're arresting people. It does not work that way. It does not work that way. So I want to let the police know that you got to be careful, lest people bring charge against you for unlawful arrest and all of that. And the next issue that I want to let you know, that if a person comes to a station, makes a report which causes you to take action, and the report is found to be false, that person can be charged or should be charged for making a false report. Charged and placed before the court for making a false report. CC, as an old commander, as an old bush police and all of that, let me hear you. Somebody asking me, hold on, let me, Simona asking me to repeat. So let me repeat for the benefit of Simona and others. I am saying that if a person goes to a station and they make a report that they were assaulted by another person, the first thing you got to do is, well, again, you entertain the report. So you make sure that you make the record in the occurrence book that this report has been made. Depending on the nature, so if there are visible injuries or so, you might have to take the person immediately to get medical attention. And we spoke on this program before about taking a person for medical attention. The person should not be sent to the doctor or the clinic or wherever. The person should be escorted by a police. And the purpose for the police escorting the person, because the police is doing the escort, will have to write a statement later, is to say that no further injuries were received by this person. Because if you send the person on his own, by the time he get to the doctor, he could bounce head into a post. All sort of thing can happen between the time he left the station and he get to the doctor. And then I got put all of them on the person against whom the report was made. So yeah, so the person goes to the doctor. If it's a case where no visible injury, you have to make the man, and even if they get visible injury, he has to give you a statement. And in statements, the person can be asked to write his own statement, or you can put him to sit down and you can take a statement from him. During the course of that statement, you have to find out from him if other persons were present when this alleged incident took place. If he says yes, who were those persons? Name, you get the name. You have to then you start your investigation to get corroboration that yes, such an incident did in fact take place. And once you get those statements, then you have grounds to say that you're going to go and you're going to make an arrest. And as I indicated too, if it is that the person said, no, it was me and this person alone, he and this person alone, no visible injuries and all of that, that is time for you to be cautious, very, very cautious. And that is why I said at that stage, we just deal with the IACAR. PAA, Private Action Advice, because there's no cooperation. CC, your take.
But in too many cases, the police are too quick to make arrests. Well, we're talking law and we dealing with training. And I like to go to the law and talk about the law. And the Police Act, Chapter 1601, Section 16.1, they talk about power to arrest without a warrant. And let me read it. 16.1 says, it shall be lawful for any member of the force to arrest without a warrant. A, any person who commits in his view an offense punishable either upon indictment or upon summary conviction. Or B, any person who any other person charged as having committed an felony or misdemeanor. Or C, and this one is critical, any person whom any other person one suspects of having committed a felony or misdemeanor. Or two, charges with having committed an offense punishable on summary conviction. If such other person is willing to accompany the member of the force affecting the arrest to the police station and to enter into a recognizance, and this is where the statement come in, to prosecute such charge. Or D, any person whom any such person, such member of the force finds disturbing the public peace. Or E, any person whom he has good cause to suspect of having committed or being about to commit any felony, misdemeanor, or breach of the peace. Or F, any person whom he finds between the hours of 8 o'clock in the evening and 5 o'clock in the morning, lying or loitering in any highway, yard, or other place, and not able to give a satisfactory account of himself. So the law is clear, and this is where the police power lies. And if, as you ready to somebody come and make a report, accept the report, take statement from them, and then you proceed. Don't go nowhere, just can't be back. Don't go be back. That's it. You need to follow what the law says and your powers to arrest without warrant. It's clear in the law, section 16.1, and that is what the police must be guided by.
Thank you for that. Let me address Bharat here. You said that is what is on the books. I guess you're referring to the injured person has to be escorted, but that is what it is. And you can't complain about shortage not to follow the law. What stops and that is why you get this breakdown in court, because what happens? You send the man to go to the doctor. And what happens between the time he leaves the station and he's examined by the doctor? That is the issue, and that is where these liars can come in and tear it to pieces, right? Because you have to escort the person to be able to say that from the time he left the station and he was examined by the doctor, no further injuries. No further injuries. Man left the station going down the road, some bicycle, some car knock you down. How do you account for those injuries? So while I agree, and this thing about shortage, I don't accept it, because this is where I can tell you I was a special constable at Sparnam in 73. And that is what they used to send you to do: escort the person to the hospital and come back. You get special constables, you get rural constables, right? They send them, now they have what they call neighborhood police and all of these people. So it's how you make use of the resources. It's how you make use of the resource. Don't tell me that you have enough people. And it's the same thing the same when reports are made. Oh, we ain't get vehicle to come now to the station. Oh, we got to wait until the patrol. The ridiculous thing, if you recall, not so long ago, Providence Police Station in December of last year, the man is making the telling the police, look across the road, there are two men who are making who assaulted me, pull and stole my phone and all of that. This is Providence Police Station. The men are at the gas station opposite the police station, and the police tell you, all right, we got to send for the patrol. Hold on until the patrol come. Right? That is the issue. That is the issue. So while I understand what you're saying, um, they you say, okay, you say you have to defend a lot of matter like that, summary assault. Well, I know you were a prosecutor and all of that, but these things, many of these cases, because it's poor people, they don't challenge. But look at the cases with the breathalyzer test. Obviously, people with money who can challenge. And what happens? Once you challenge, the matter's gone. The matter's gone because they were not properly attended to. So that is what we got to understand. I got to give a shout out to Adimak. Adimak, welcome. Welcome, Adimak. Yes, Adimak says here that we should teach them. And we will continue to do that. Teach them, Mrs. Conway. She hope that the young policemen are listening. Well, not only listening, but I hope they're, well, not only the young policemen alone, but the ones in charge have to be able to teach them to use the information and to make sure that they do the right thing, because they are supervisors, and supervisors must supervise and direct what is the correct thing to be done. So yes, Adi, welcome. And the next story that we want to go to here is the one that has been percolating over the past couple of weeks. And I refer here to the incident with the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Home Affairs. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment. For those of you who are not aware, some people, maybe they come out from under a rock, they don't know what's going on. But here was the story. The permanent secretary, around the 21st of last month, Starbrook News carried an article saying that the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs was arrested by the Customs and Border authorities, equivalent to immigration, at Miami Airport, and she had her phone seized. She was detained. It subsequently revealed that she was detained by the people for over 3 hours. They said she was handcuffed, detained for 3 hours, questioned for 3 hours. And then subsequently they said that her visa was revoked. It was then revealed that this incident is alleged to have occurred since the 8th of April. So the first report we got is from the media on the 21st of April, almost 2 weeks. Quiet. Government has said nothing. And don't tell me they didn't know, because I would expect that as soon as an incident like that occurred, the PS would have used the first opportunity to inform our principals that, hey, Customs and Border, I get police for fitness. They take away my phone. And I was detained and questioned because they talk about handcuff, they talk about roughing up and all kind of things. So nothing. And then silence, because the government first reaction was that, well, we can find out from the US. And as to be expected, the US embassy said they ain't gonna not move. So just direct them to the powers of the custom and border agents and say, well, they can pull in anybody for secondary examination and so on. And the things start to reveal bit by bit by bit. As a matter of fact, let me fast forward to this morning. Because this morning the newspaper is reporting that when the PS was arrested or pulled in for fitness, she had in her possession over 9,000 US dollars. That is this morning news, 9,000. Now, let me go through some of the things that were said. What we know. We know from the releases and the statement that the police, the PS was pulled in on the 8th of April on her way to China. She was in transit. Listen to this carefully. This is what we glean. She was in transit to China and she was pulled in. Questions were asked. Was she on official duty? What? They were mom in the first instance. Then it came out from statements by the president and statement by the vice president that the lady was going on PPP training program. Can you imagine this? The permanent secretary of the Ministry of National Security, the PS, Ministry of Home Affairs, according to what the government people, the president and the vice president, and them saying, she was going on PPP training business to China. So, and then, so therefore, the question is asked, how come a permanent secretary who is the head of the public in the ministry, she's a professional head of the ministry, how come she going on PPP business? The vice president said, well, she's a member of the PPP, and what he said, she said, people get different lives and all kind of thing. You know, and listening to these people, I am reminded of Abraham Lincoln's statement when he said, it is better to stay quiet, and I'm paraphrasing here, it's better to stay quiet and let people believe that you're stupid than to open your mouth and to conform it. So that is one of the things I said. Imagine she's the most senior public servant in the Ministry of Home Affairs, the PS. The Minister of Home Affairs made a statement to say, well, the president is the person who, let me see, he said the appointment of the PS is the sole discretion, is at the sole discretion of the president. And the former Auditor General Gulsaran had to point out that the permanent secretary of the ministries and the chief executive officer of the region should be appointed by the Public Service Commission, not the president. It is not a political appointment. So the public service is supposed to make the appointment. But the minister says the president make the appointment. So you got to believe what he said. You have to believe what he says. Then they go on to say, I make the point that she's the accounting officer for the ministry. She is therefore responsible for billions of dollars voted for the police, the fire service, the prison service, and other agencies under the Ministry of Home Affairs. You would recall about a month or so ago, they made an allegation that $300 million in fraud, there's a $300 million fraud at the police quartermaster stores. They removed the quartermaster and the second two officers were removed. We didn't hear nothing more from it about it. But I pointed out then that the minister, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Affairs is the accounting officer for both capital and current expenditure. And if you have $300 million fraud, then the PS got to be able to say something, either complicit or negligent. I made that statement long before this came to fore. She is the accounting officer for the Ministry of Home Affairs, including the police. Police is not a self-accounting agency. And I explained that some time ago. Whereas the ministry has always been the accounting officer for capital expenditure, and capital expenditure is a big item project. You're buying car, you're buying truck, you're building station. It's capital expenditure. But the current expenditure, years ago, the police used to be responsible for that. And that was taken away from the police. And it sits with the PS Home Affairs. So you get $300 million fraud, they claim, at the police quartermaster stores. And the point is, the PS is responsible for all that amount of money. Then they said she was in transit to China. But let me tell you this, I have traveled a lot around the world. I've been fortunate to travel a lot on work-related business. And when you are in transit, very little attention is paid to you because you're just passing through. You're just passing through. So if an in transit passenger in the US is pulled in for secondary examination, that is not a routine thing. My view, not a routine thing. Because thousands and thousands, probably millions of people pass through in transit all the time. In transit basically means you have a connection. You travel from Guyana wherever to the US. You have a next connection to go to some other part of the world. So you're just passing through. You're just passing through. And therefore, I'm saying that that cannot be a routine stuff. And then we're hearing too that, again, they haven't given any proper release. And the little that they have said, they talk enough and say nothing. That the little that they have said, that she was traveling on a service passport. So in other words, not a regular passport like you and I have. Because I think, according to what they say, they have the diplomatic passport, then they have a service passport, and then they have the ordinary passport. But she, in an ordinary person, she was traveling on a service passport. Some people say diplomatic, but I don't know. Because as I've said, they are generally very quiet about what has been transpiring in this matter. Now, then we said a statement of the police, and the minister said, look, as I said, he said that the president appoints, and then he made a statement, very intemperate, I believe, about when somebody asked him as to whether his visa is has been taken away. The man said, words to the effect that he and that US is not heaven, Guyana is heaven. I can show you a picture. Let me show you it now, what heaven looks like in Guyana. Let me show you, according to the minister, what heaven looks like in Guyana. Let me see. Let me pull this thing up real quick and show you all. One moment. One moment, my viewers. Where do I go? All right. I think I have it somewhere now. No, I gotta go. You bear with me a minute, man. I want you to see these things, you know. I want you to see what heaven looks like in Guyana. I think I get it here now. Hold on. It is loading. Look what heaven looks like. This is a video of the passport office a few weeks ago. So the minister said,
disorder at Immigration Department this morning.
Guyana is,
Persons noted that no proper system in place to deal with the high volume of people. Imagine an oil-rich nation like Guyana. Hundreds of Guyanese rush the passport office daily to get their passport in hopes of securing a visa to go stay in another country. What could be the cause? Is it because foreigners are getting all the benefits while Guyanese become second-class citizens in their own country?
The thing was streamlined in such a way that people didn't got to go early in the morning and spend overnight. Somebody right to say got to spend overnight now at the passport office. So why people are running, Minister, perhaps you want to explain. And then the president made a statement too. President said about this routine thing, how the secondary check is routine and no big issue with that and all of that. And then the vice president said, I think I made a note, he said people have multiple existence. He said they have multiple existence. So in other words, he's saying the fact that the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs is going on political business is not a big issue. And then if you read the statement again that he made, a lot of obfuscation, a lot of crap spewed in the thing. So that is what you have. And then the question is, people have been asking, how can this person continue to work in that capacity at the Ministry of Home Affairs? a person who has been, according to the reports, on the radar of the US authorities, a person who, I didn't mention the phone, had her cell phone seized or cell phone taken away. Well, I know the fact that the cell phone was taken away, a lot of people, they can't sit down flush. One, they got to East Ponfeg and East Ponfeg and East Ponfeg like if it's a dance. They can't sleep good when the night come. Can't sleep good because a cell phone, all type of information is going to be contained on that phone. All the contacts, all the messages, all the WhatsApp messages, all the emails, all of those things are there. And don't believe that you could have erased them. Your technology can bring back all them things that you believe that you erased. So all of you had run-ins, all of you who had runnings, and I understand that there were many runnings. Get another type of running now. And this type of running is what you got to do in the washroom. They got to do in the washroom. So you have a case where Dataram turned Tawa, people say canary. That guy is not a canary. Tawa, the best songbird in Guyana. I used to mind Tawa. So you have Dataram in US custody, and they say he like a Tawa, he's singing, clean singing, PPO. The boardman will know what I mean by that. PPO, because when they get Tawa, they whistle. But some of them get Chinese whistle. And the Chinese whistle board, tangle whistle, and calling no big price. But when you get a Tawa, somebody call it bastard. That's the name of it in some places. And he sings the clean PPO. That is big money. If you follow the news, people are trying to smuggle them into the United States and get hooked up because it's a very profitable business. So when you get a man, that Ram singing like a Tawa, PPO in the US, and then a passport now, not a visa is revoked, and a cell phone is seized, it's time for people to worry. It's time for people to worry. It's time for the one, you move from one runnings to the other runnings. From one running to the other running. Again, I've been arguing the bowling. Let me bring in my colleague CC for tech piece of this bowling. CC, your comments on this part of the thing, man. The thing's sweet.
More than sweet, a lot of long ups and full pitch and all kind of story, man. The thing is, when you're not forthright, when you're not coming forward and telling the truth, you open up yourself to a whole set of allegations, a whole set of conspiracy theories. When you stay in the 54th state, a state of denial. And let me tell you something about the 54th state. It came out when the O.J. Simpson trial, the lawyer, Johnny Cochran, he told the judge, this witness is in the 54th state, a state of denial. And the judge didn't understand. And then he had to explain to the judge that the United States has 50 states. And Puerto Rico applied to become the 54th state. And it was denied. Therefore, you see, the witness was in this 54th state, a state of denial. So many things that, went wrong. You had so many issues. You talk here, Vice President said that reports that some people have multiple existence. We heard that the thing was misunderstood. You have a routine secondary inspection. You heard that she was part of a delegation. You heard that the cell phone, he asked him to send back the cell phone to the Minister of Home Affairs. And a whole set of things. The, the statement by the PS is so, so damning. PS is saying that she interfaced with the Custom and Border Patrol. How could she interface with them? They were in her face. A county reporter slammed she to the wall. They put handcuff on her. They get her for hours there. And you call that interface? You know, here she was in a part of a delegation. What delegation? Then we hear that some PPP training session have been done. Who paid the money for airfare? Did it come from the government funds? Or did it come from our party funds? So many things went wrong there, and then she's still around. She's still around. Um, Paul, she said his cell phone. She asked him to send it to the minister. You imagine that. And so it is shocking to know that the head of the ministry after the minister that they put her in revoke her visa. She also said that she was given options to enter the United States or proceed on her journey, and she elected to proceed on her journey. So many unanswered questions. For me, it's better that she had remained silent. It's better that she had adopted the 54th state, a state. But then again, it reminds me, Sir Lionel Lucky, he made a statement some years ago talking about somebody, and the PS conduct in terms of our statement. My quote, if I refer to Sir Lionel Laku, he said, the elephant went into labor and gave birth to a mouse. The minister went into labor and gave birth to a mouse in our statement.
Yes, my brother. Yes, I mean, as you rightly said, these people are delusional. Oh, I asked them to send the phone to the minister. Oh, I had an interface. Oh, the person have different life to live. Delusional people. People need to see some
Yeah.
psychiatrist or something like that. And to think that these people are in senior positions and can't give a proper and coherent answer to these questions. But let them know that these things are not going to go away because you ain't dealing with a country where there's no rule of law. You're dealing with a country that has strict rules and guidelines which are going to be followed. And you can't pick up a phone and call anybody to tell them, say, look, is this matter. It doesn't work like that. So the sooner they come to recognize that is the better off they are going to be. And the problem that you have had with all of these incidents is the attempt from very early to cover them up. And in an attempt to cover up in this world that we live in now with social media and all of these things, the truth is going to be revealed drip by drip. As I've said this morning now, you hear about this 9,000 US dollars that the PS had in our possession on our way to a training session in China. Where she was either going to do shopping and so on as well. Mandela, welcome. You say you're late, but welcome. You could always go to YouTube and catch up because we are going to close off in the next 10 minutes or so. Mr. Conway has an engagement. So, yes, so they try to hide all of these things. And then when the thing comes out, then they can't give a proper answer. Because as I've said in the beginning, this is an incident occurred on the 8th of April, and it's not until Stabrook News broke this story on the 21st of April, I think it was. And the question to be asked, at Putinami investigating Atai and so on, the question to be asked, if the government officially remains silent over this incident for about 2 weeks, where did Stabrook News get the story from? Oh la la! Ooh la la! Where did Stabrook News get the story from to break on or around the 21st of April? That's the first question I would ask as an investigator. And then things will start to fall in place. Can they talk about visa and everything? The US are not going to give any information on the revocation of visas and all these type of things. And the people quite rightly tell them, well, this is Customs Border Patrol Authority, and they direct them to the laws giving them that authority. And I done with you. Go in your corner and sit down. You can't come and ask me them stupidness them though. That is basically what the people said. Now, CC, there were some other issues that I'm conscious that you have to go. So let me try to wind up. Now, the one that is going around yesterday and day before is this man who was found dead in this hotel, the man who died in the hotel in Communist Street, I think it is, and the video showing the young lady jumping out from the hotel room. And then there was an interview, I think, yesterday with Travis Chase on the same matter. And I asked other questions and I asked other speculations. The postmortem, I understand, is to be done today. And let's see where that will go. But you know the whole story. Last night I was being very wicked, and I posted a glass of Guinness. And the slogan for Guinness back in the day was Guinness is good for you. Because the story is that the man had 2 Guinness. Maybe he was priming for something. And we don't know what is the cause of death, but people speculating and all sort of thing. They're saying, but it's a caution to a lot of people. I mean, the photograph that they put out with the Guinness, I don't drink Guinness. I just put it up there to get a little joke. Selwyn is saying that it's like there's someone blurt out the PS matter in a rum shop. But which rum shop by? Who going to rum shop to know the thing? Anyhow, we can hear at some stage how the cartoon established news got the story. But you gotta be careful, fellas. You're going into, you get your relationship, you're going on, and then you're docking into place. But you know, on a serious note, when you I think Nigel is saying here that the result confirmed is a heart attack. Well, my buddy, the thing, when the time comes for you to go, you have to go. But the man went soon after he came. So you got to use the English. Because according to the lady's story, they had a nice time. So one can only, well, not only speculate, the lady did say that they had fun. And shortly after he went, so he came and then he went. A lot of people saying he died from heart attack. Well, I've not been on the social media. But you know, I said, even when you listen to the lady's story, it's an easy investigation. It's not a big investigation. She made some statements there which can easily be verified or not verified, as the case may be. So, Glenda said the man died. Happy mama. Yeah. I guess not to bother way to cash out. So let's see where that will go. You see, want to say anything about that? You want 2 Guinness?
Well, I only drink one, you know. I don't go for two. I know my limitations, you know, and my capabilities, you know. So one is it because I was wondering when I saw you put up a Guinness there, I was wondering I was the cardio for him. What would that signify, you know? But let's see what would happen. You know, there's so many
Yeah.
questions there, you know.
Well, I guess the cause of that got a lot of fears because the people were speculating that he might have been killed and all of that. But based on the lady's story, which seems plausible. So if he died from heart attack, well then I guess that one put a lot of end to a lot of the speculation and all this type of thing. But I agree with you about the interview. I have to say that the interview was done in poor taste. I mean, some of the questions asked should have never have been asked, and getting people to speculate and all of that. That wasn't good at all. That wasn't good. I totally agree with you. Yeah, so the next issue that I want to move on, I got 2 short one, is that we got to congratulate the police for solving the murder of the colleague Quincy Lewis. Quincy Lewis, you know, went missing about 2 years ago, and then recently 2 men admitted to be a part of the murder of Quincy Lewis, and they were charged along with 2 persons who they claim were the masterminds, the husband and wife. And I saw since then in the Guyana Code, the charge of murder, the magistrate issued a warrant for them. The police made contact with Interpol, and Interpol has issued a red notice. Now, the red notice simply means that Interpol is asking any police force around the world to arrest them if they see them. That is what a red notice is. So that is what has happened. But there are some concerns about that case. There are some concerns because if you arrest 2 men and the 2 men give confession statements, I don't know what other evidence they have. I know that there was an amendment to the Evidence Act sometime last year, which allows for co-accused to give evidence against each other. Prior to that, the statement of a co-accused, I learned that since I was a young police and a prosecutor, and I did prosecutor training, that the statement of a co-accused was statement against the person, not against the person, the other side of person. So if I was a Conway were charged, and I said Conway did so, that wasn't evidence against Conway, that was evidence against me. But the law was amended last year to allow for co-accused to give evidence against the other set of co-accused. But even so, you could imagine what the lawyers will make of the credibility of this co-accused. But let's see, first of all, if those persons are going to be arrested wherever they are, if they're out of the country, and be extradited to Guyana. And if they are extradited to Guyana, what will happen? But I want to say kudos to they call it a cold case unit. But hear this. I see the crime chief made a statement. He was praising the head of the cold case unit. And my information is that the current head of the cold case unit was only put in that position a week before this matter was solved, just a week before. So in other words, he can't get no praise. And I understand that the man who did all the work, except for keep it to the sideline, very good police. He did all the work. He is the man. He's not at the cold case. He don't work with them in that headquarters area. But he was a man who was very tenacious and was able to crack this case. But apparently he fall out of favor with them, and they give him the praise to other people and so on. CC, you want to say anything about that quickly?
Yes, Paul, I might disagree with you a bit because I'm not certain if the murder has been solved. I know for sure that the charged persons, I gotta be careful because what's going on in High Court now,
You're
the
damn
charge
right.
people, and then when you go upstairs, this
You're right.
case gone down the drain.
Thanks to the
But
colleague.
I watch at it, the crime scene that they had there, and they, they didn't find a decomposed body, they didn't find a mummy. They find a skeletonized portion of what they suspected to be the policeman. But the remains, they got to look at terms of identification. Sometimes in terms of identification, you might have to look at, well, did he have any dental issues which might come into play? Any health issues? Perhaps he had a broken leg or a broken arm when he had that. The identification is very critical in this matter. And also the chain of custody. And look at the interview with his mother, as the case may be, the clothing he was wearing when he left things. That they need to do quite a lot of things. And I was a bit surprised because I didn't see or hear anything that our pathologist was there. In those cases, you find skeleton and say, you got to get a forensic pathologist. And also, for me, matters like those, you lock out the scene and you get the pathologist to be there with you foot to foot. In my days, I remember Borbis, I used to get Dr. Bridgemore, and when there are more the cases that are very complicated, one I used to make sure the police vehicle will pick him up and carry him there because he's the forensic man. It's critical for that thing. And how they deal with the crime scene, sometimes you win or you lose a case at the crime scene. I said it before and I will repeat it. I did management of that investigation with the FBI, and we talk about approach to that scene. And there's something called preliminary, the first responders to that scene. And the P talk about proceed to scene and assess situation. R, render aid to injured. E, effect arrest. L, locate witnesses. I, interview complainant and witnesses. M, maintain crime scene and protect evidence. I, inform other police officers. N, note all conditions, events, and remarks. A, arrange for searching scene and collecting evidence. And Y, yield responsibilities. And when you go on a crime scene, your attitude is important. Some people, when they go there, and they get confused because of now the brutality and of the situation. That people should be advised to be cool, calm, and detached. Your attitude, if you go there with a wrong attitude, you might not be able to be effective. And always remember, lockout to your exchange, something will remain there, or the perpetrator will carry away something. So the crime scene, you win or lose the case at the crime scene. So I'm happy that at least they charge some persons, but there's still quite a lot of more work to be done, especially identification of that skeleton knife remains of what is suspected to be the, the policeman. And the ballistics, I heard that they found a warrant. And we got to be careful because sometimes the warrant that you found, sometimes it's not of any evidential value because it was damaged. It was badly damaged. And also, we ask the question if the man who's alleged to have shot him, was he a licensed firearm holder? If he's a licensed firearm holder, where is his firearm? And things like the ballistic database. You do they check and see whether hey, this match something somewhere, another location that's wrongs were found as the case may be. So it's quite a lot of ballistic and forensic work. And then the forensic science unit that we have there, is it a white elephant that we got to send with things? It's over 10 years now we have that unit. And why don't we have the real equipment? Why don't we have the persons there to operate it? I think we have a girl as superintendent right now in Russia doing forensic science. I think she's supposed to graduate sometime this year. But I mean, need many more forensic investigators to solve crime, and particularly this one here, where you find is skeletonized remains of what is suspected to be the policeman. But at least they did some work, and I hope that they don't stop there, that they will continue.
Yeah, thanks. Well said. But one of the worrying part for me that the charge for this murder, and you're not sure who the bones or the remains belong to. So
Oh,
that's a
good
big
question.
assumption. That's a big assumption. It's a big jump to say that this bones that you found belongs to Quincy Lewis without any proof that it is so.
Uh-huh.
So that is the issue. That is one of the issues. But let me see how they are going to overcome that. And the last
Yeah,
thing that I have here, and I said we can't go too long this morning because you have an engagement.
yeah,
Um, I understand. I can't believe it, but I understand that the police officer in charge of region number 10, that is Linden, Aichuni, and Swan, regional, they call it regional commander 10. I understand the man retired on the force from the force on Monday. In other words, Sunday was the man's last working day. So the man is now a civilian. Why are the man still in charge? See, did you hear that?
well, the thing is that police do all sorts of things, Paul. And the thing is, they don't look at succession planning. They knew all along the line that this guy coming off. All along the line that he's coming up because he was asked to stay on. I think they paid him for his leave. And lo and behold, his last working day should have been on Monday. Today is Wednesday. Nobody has taken over from him. So you have a civilian in charge of region number 10, they're waiting for his release to come and they can't find a release. Perhaps they're looking at a person of a certain race to go there. All of you gotta look at the thing. That
But
a
it is
man
here.
come out the work days ago and he's still there and he's a civilian, so civilian running things.
But the man has no authority. The man,
No,
based on how the public service operates, it couldn't have been. Monday was the first day of the new month. And it means, therefore, his last working day should have been Sunday. Because on the
yeah,
first day of the new month, you are a civilian. That is how the public service works. So if it simply means that he would have been born in April, so you would work up to the last day in April. On the first
yeah,
day in May, you are a civilian. So
yes,
you got a man who's a civilian, as you pointed out. This man would have been, he didn't go on any leave prior to retirement, which means that he was being paid in lieu of. He was paid. You know that this man coming off Sunday was the man last working day. This man should have been made to hand over since Friday or something like that. So that when Monday come, the man gone away. This thing is real comedy, It's carry on. And when you talk about, the program, this name of this program, incompetence, exposing incompetence and corruption, this is incompetence to the highest degree. The
yeah,
man, he has absolutely no authority, none. Because again, in the absence of the police service commission, they can't say they're replying him. He would have gotten a letter about a year out to tell you about the benefits and the fact that he got to retire from the 1st of May 2023. So how come that these people can sit down and at least find a replacement or something like that? Incompetence, and they're running around the place spewing a lot of nonsense. This is real incompetence, and Cheryl is saying the police force in real trouble. I've been saying this a long time. Real trouble, because you have incompetent people running the show. And then you have a minister there, oh Lord, oh God, Robeson. Again, as I said, body you saw is all sort of thing happening under your watch. You get road accidents, fires. Now you get a civilian running the police division. What more? You got a civilian running a police division. I mean, we know that certain civilians, some certain offices, just control thing. Civilian businessmen and all of that. But this is a civilian who's a former police officer. He's a former police officer. He running the show. But now you do something now. The thing is embarrassing. People are asking all kind of questions. The thing is embarrassing. Or maybe they're setting the stage for the next man. Because the man who sits in the chair is supposed to retire, So maybe when he turns civilian, he can stay on as well. If he's not extended, when he turns civilian, so maybe they're setting a precedent. They're going to say, oh, the man in Region 10 to stay on when he was a civilian. So that's wrong. The man who sits in the chair, stay on as well. This is a real comedy show. But see any final comments?
No final thing. I think we have had enough, and then I'm about to go to a certain location, today.
Yeah, I recognize that. So there were some other issues that I wanted to speak on. So we got left over next week.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave those for next week. But just to say, I know you're going to this engagement. I will request that you express express condolence on behalf of me, and I'm sorry I can't be there for my good friend send off. So see you, CC.
Will do.
Thanks, folks. That's the end of today's program. We run over 2 hours. We have been going over 2 hours in recent times. Again, I want to caution you, implore you to be safe on the roads, in respect of COVID and all these things. Don't take chances. We say, don't take chances with your chances. So until next week, at 11 o'clock, I'll see you then for another episode of Speaking Out, exposing corruption and incompetence. Until then, God spare life. Bye.